Oh, last week and this week. I love those readings. John the Baptist is probably, well, one of my favorite characters in the Gospels. When I had long hair, so those of you who are newer to the congregation, you won't remember me with long hair. I did have long hair. There were some people who really wanted me to cut my hair. And then when I did, and I was wearing it in a mohawk, they really wished I had left my hair long. But when I had my long hair, and I would actually preach these 2 Sundays by taking my hair out and ruffling it a lot, getting it kind of a little matty, and then putting on like I have a robe that was gifted to me when I was in Cape Breton by the First Nation community in Eskasoni, and I would wear that, and because John the Baptist, I love the image of John the Baptist out there in the wilderness, kind of eating locusts, and I ate locusts once. It wasn't as desirable as you might think. But okay, so that's the image. So Jesus, in this morning's reading, right? Jesus says, when you went out to the wilderness, what did you expect to see? Right? Did you expect to see a kingly person in robes? And no, nobody went out to see that. They went out to see a prophet. They went out to see someone who was declaring the kingdom of God. They heard that. They heard the rumblings, and they went out to see, what is it about this guy? And when they went out, they saw someone who, if John the Baptist had been walking through the streets of their town, they would have walked on the other side of the street to avoid him. Right? John the Baptist looked like the roughest guy that you can think of walking the streets of Fort Erie. John the Baptist looked like the guy who, if he walks into the library, they're getting concerned. John the Baptist looked like the guy who hopefully finds a little bit of sanctuary at the Embrace Center, and who hopefully, if he walked in the doors right now, we would greet him and welcome him with open arms. That's John the Baptist. And John the Baptist, he didn't mince words, right? He kind of made a whole bunch of enemies because he was speaking truth. And now, today, we talk about, going out and speaking truth to power. Well, John the Baptist, he spoke truth to power. And the power didn't like it, which isn't surprising because they don't like it now when we try and do that. But here's the beauty of the message of John the Baptist. He actually takes the ideas that were first kind of introduced into the tradition in Isaiah, the visions of Isaiah. So the vision that we heard today of deserts blooming, think about the reading from last week from Isaiah, right? So the harmony, the peaceable kingdom is one of the ways that we talk about that reading. So that's the message. That's the message. And the message is, so if we listen to Isaiah, the message of that new reality comes with the advent of the Messiah. And so it's preached, so John was preaching it as a vision for the future while he knew that Jesus, the Messiah, was already present. And that's where I get my sermon title this morning. Because the vision of Isaiah, the prophecy of John, if we have eyes to see and ears to hear. So that's a lovely catchphrase, right, from Jesus. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you know that it's already here. But this season of Advent, we are waiting for it. We are waiting for the birth of Jesus. We are waiting for the fullness of that revelation, that fullness of God's self-revelation to us. So in some ways, it's not here. It's here, but it's not here. It's here for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Because here's the piece for me. The vision is, if we kind of extrapolate out, right? So the vision is a vision of justice. The vision is a vision where all people have exactly what they need to live, where everybody has a roof over their head, where everybody has food on the table, where everybody has potable water, where everybody has someone who's walking through life with them, where everybody has all of those pieces that they need in order to live life, and not only live life, but live it fully. That's the vision. Today, we know that vision is not realized. But we know this too, that the vision could be realized. There is not a food shortage in the world. There's not. There is enough food in the world to feed every person on the planet. The problem is, we don't want to share it. The problem is that there are tables that are overflowing while others sit barren. The problem is that we throw out more food in a day than it would take to feed the population. Now we know, I can tell you, because every Monday, and most of you know this, every Monday I do the Costco run. The Costco run, because Costco, and this is not a plug for Costco, I am not advertising here for Costco, but I do want to hold up a reality that should be matched by others. Costco partners with 14 nonprofits in this community and provides food that would otherwise be thrown in the trash. And some days our tables are overflowing. We don't have enough space on the tables to put all of the food that is donated to us. Earlier, before Costco started those arrangements, all of that food every day was going into a dumpster. Other countries have realized that and have legislated that is no longer legal. In France, grocery stores cannot throw all of their food into the dumpsters. They have to find ways that can be dispersed. The question that this Advent vision poses to us is, why would it have to be legislated? And the second question is, since it's not legislated here, why aren't we doing it anyway? There is not a housing shortage, really. If we're honest, there are buildings in this community that sit vacant, that we as a society could decide. We could make the choice to make those spaces available for the housing of those without homes. We could. We don't. And then we have to ask ourselves the question, why? And there are all kinds of political reasons and all kinds of societal reasons and all kinds of things that we could throw in and say, this is why, this is why, this is why. But it boils down to this. We do not have eyes to see and ears to hear. We don't. We want to. We desire to. And some of us, and most days I would put myself in this mix. There are days when I probably fall short. No, not probably. When I do fall short. Some of us do have the eye, and do have the ear, and do have something of that birth of Jesus in our hearts. The words of God in the words of Jeremiah written upon our hearts. Some of us have that some of the time. Some of us have it most of the time. Not enough of us have it all of the time. And so this vision of life where things are arid, the turning of a stone heart into a heart that beats with the blood and the life of God, with the vision of God in our minds, walking through the world, seeing the world as God sees the world. A world full of hope, a world full of promise, a world where everything that we could possibly need in order to live a life of the harmony of Isaiah from last week, the life of Isaiah from this week, the prophecy of John both last week and this week, and the recognition on the part of Jesus. Because here's the thing, I can tell you, Jesus today talks about the miracles, right? Go back and tell John that the blind are seeing, that the lame are leaping, that those are the miracles, the signs that people were seeing in their midst. I can tell you that today, if I go out into the world with eyes that are ready to see and ears that are ready to hear, I will see and hear miracles in my midst. They are there. They are there. In fact, and here's one. I love to tell you that each one of you is a miracle. Each one of you is a miracle. Now, say that to people outside of this sanctuary or outside of most sanctuaries, and people will shake their heads at you. But each one of us is a miracle. We are a walking, talking, singing, blessing miracle. If we see that, if we acknowledge that, then we get closer to the vision of Isaiah. We get closer to the place where things that appeared dead come to life. When things that appeared hopeless are now hope-filled. Where things that seemed impossible become commonplace. Advent is a time. So Lent is great, right? Like Lent is the season when we do that serious self-reflection, when we see the places where we are falling short, when we are faced with the limitations of our existence. Advent is the time when we are invited to see the realities of joy and hope and love and peace in our midst. And when we see them, when our eyes are opened with the vision of Christ himself, then we recognize that what we are desiring is here already. And what we need to do is take all of that, all of what has been provided to us by a creator who is so close to us, a breath away. How do we take what the Creator has provided to us and make it available to all? Because the beauty of our faith is that it is ours not to hold to ourselves but to give away. The beauty of the blessings that we recognize in our lives are ours to share. And if we share, then, the ripple effect, people talk about it. I share with you, you share with the next person, the next person, the next person, the next person. And all of a sudden, you have the miracle of the 5,000. You have the stone soup that the Nutcrackers talked to us about a couple of weeks ago. You have the goods, the provision of God for the good of all. That is Advent. Advent is our discernment as to how we make that reality manifest. How we seize and share the love of God. So let that be your task. That's your homework for the next week. And then for every day after that. And if we take that seriously, then the good news becomes good news not for me, not for you, not for us, but for the world. Thanks be to God.